Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at bamboo and its potential as a sustainable alternative to coal-fired power plants. You sent in some really fascinating research. I'm excited to really unpack all this stuff.
Mhm.
We'll be covering a lot of ground here, from the technical aspects of converting those power plants all the way to the global bamboo market and what it could mean for rural communities.
You've definitely tapped into something that's a hot topic right now. I mean, globally, climate change, right? Resource depletion, economic development. What's so interesting is how bamboo has the potential to, well, kind of address all of these things.
Yeah, and one of the things that really struck me going through these sources is just how much bamboo can actually do.
Hmm.
We're talking building materials, textiles, renewable energy. It's almost like a Swiss Army knife of sustainable resources, you know what I mean?
And it's not just like theoretical anymore. We're talking a global market valued at over $68 billion. So it's gone from this niche thing to an industry that could really shake things up, like timber, cotton, even fossil fuels, believe it or not.
Speaking of fossil fuels, you said a lot of info on coal-fired power plants. I mean, trying to convert one to run on biomass, let alone bamboo,
Yeah.
seems like, well, a huge undertaking. So how do we even, begin to unpack that?
It is complex, no doubt. But instead of just hypotheticals, let's look at a real-world example. The Drax Power Station in the UK. They made the switch from coal to mainly burning wood pellets. That one project. It's cut their carbon emissions by, get this, 80%.
Wow, 80%. That's massive. So if wood pellets can work, what about bamboo, right? What gives it an edge over other options for biomass, like bagasse, for example, or what about agricultural residues?
Bamboo's growth rate is really what sets it apart. We're talking up to a meter a day. It reaches maturity in just a few years, so it's much faster to replenish than, say, wood pellets, which might need huge areas of forest. Plus, bamboo's versatile. It can grow on what we call marginal lands, and it doesn't need as much water or fertilizer. So environmentally, it can be a better choice in a lot of situations.
Okay, so faster growth, less land impact, maybe a smaller environmental footprint overall. This is sounding more and more promising. But realistically, are there challenges to converting a coal plant to actually burn bamboo? What are we missing here?
Oh, absolutely. Got to think about the practical stuff. Your sources talk about bamboo having high energy content, right? But let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the ash in the furnace, right? Bamboo. It makes more ash than coal. So you'd need to make some serious changes to a power plant's ash handling system. Otherwise, you're going to have blockages and disposal issues. We're talking bigger ash collection, more cleaning, maybe even new ways to get rid of the ash altogether.
It's amazing how these little details can be what makes or breaks something like this. Are there any other success stories out there? Maybe not with bamboo itself, but similar kinds of biomass, something we can learn from.
For sure. If we look at Asia, countries like Japan and Thailand have started using palm kernel shells. That's a byproduct of their palm oil production, by the way. Those shells used to be waste. Now they're helping to power their plants.
Oh, wow. So turning what's basically trash into something valuable. That's amazing. But how does this tie back into bamboo, though? I mean, they seem pretty different.
It's more about the bigger picture, I think. It's about using what you have, what's already available, even if people overlook it. Palm kernel shells were seen as waste, right? And in many places, bamboo is abundant, but it's not used to its full potential. What these Asian countries show us is that we need to look at these local resources and figure out how to adapt our technology to use them.
So are you saying a place like Southeast Asia, which is known for, having tons of bamboo, could that become like a hub for bamboo power generation?
It's a really interesting thought. They definitely have the climate for it, the land, and like you said, the bamboo. And they've already shown they can incorporate new biomass, remember, with the palm kernel shells. It's not about copying that exactly, but realizing there's an opportunity here, a chance to create something totally new in the bioenergy market.
Now, that's a fascinating idea. But before we, go too far down that road, let's focus on one country you mentioned, specifically Malaysia. What makes them stand out as a potential player in all of this?
Well, their palm oil infrastructure gives them a real leg up. I mean, they've already tackled the whole incorporating a new biomass thing, right? So logistically, in terms of know-how, they're ahead of the game. Plus, they've got this history of agricultural innovation. So if anyone can adapt quickly to like large-scale bamboo, it's probably them.
So they've got the infrastructure, the experience, the climate. But even with all that, Scaling up bamboo production to like energy generation levels,
Ah,
that's got to be a huge task, right? What needs to happen for Malaysia to really make that jump?
it's not as simple as just planting more, that's for sure. We're talking about building a whole industry here from scratch. Research and development, that's got to be a big priority. They need to figure out which bamboo species work best for energy, how to optimize their cultivation for Malaysia's specific climate, even developing new tech for processing the bamboo into like those fuel pellets.
It's amazing how even something like choosing the right species of bamboo can make or break the whole thing, you know?
Oh, for sure. Growth rates, energy content, even the ash composition, it all varies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, picking the right ones is huge for efficiency and keeping the environmental impact low. Just imagine, what if Malaysia developed a type of bamboo specifically bred for high energy and low ash? That would be a game changer.
Like a super bamboo, bred for fuel.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But even with the perfect bamboo, you still have to get it from, the field to the power plant, right?
Yeah.
What about the logistics of transporting and processing all that bamboo?
That's where infrastructure comes in. They'd need a really efficient system to transport that harvested bamboo to the processing plants, then onto the power plants. So we're talking upgrading roads, maybe investing in specific types of trucks, even looking at rail or water transport. And remember, we talked about the ash content. Those processing facilities would need to handle that. Specialized grinders, high capacity ash collection. They might even look into new ways to use the ash like fertilizer. It's about creating that circular economy, right?
It's really cool how something like ash disposal can lead to like a whole new ways of innovation. But your research also talked about bamboo's economic potential and not just for energy, right?
Definitely. Remember that $68 billion global market? That's not just from burning bamboo. It's used in construction, textiles, you name it, furniture, even high-tech stuff like bioplastics. Imagine a future where we're not just powering our homes with bamboo, but building them with it, furnishing them, even clothing ourselves with bamboo-based products.
Okay, so we've talked about how bamboo could create jobs in like agriculture and forestry in rural communities.
Yep.
But what about these other industries, the construction, textiles, bioplastics, all that? What kind of opportunities are there specifically for a place like Malaysia?
They could be a world leader in sustainable bamboo products, I think. Imagine them focusing on those high-value products like engineered bamboo for building or luxury bamboo furniture. They could also tap into that growing demand for sustainable packaging, replacing plastics with bamboo alternatives, that kind of thing.
It's crazy to think one plant can be used in so many ways. But going back to energy for a sec, we've been talking about Malaysia, but what about the rest of the world? Could bamboo become as widely traded as other biofuels, like those wood pellets we talked about?
It's possible, but it won't be easy. Right now, China's running the show. They're producing and exporting the most bamboo, everything from construction materials to textiles. If other regions like Southeast Asia want to compete, they need to up their production like big time.
So it's not just about, being an alternative to traditional energy sources. It's about navigating this whole global bamboo market that already exists.
Exactly. And that's where partnerships and smart investments are key. Malaysia could team up with other countries that produce bamboo, share knowledge and technology, maybe even start joint ventures to increase their market presence.
Like a bamboo alliance? That's kind of cool. But okay, back to reality. What are some of the specific hurdles Malaysia would need to clear to, actually establish themselves in this growing market?
Well, there's this perception of bamboo. It's seen as this low value thing, like the poor man's timber, not a high-end, sustainable resource. Changing that image, both in Malaysia and globally, that's a big hurdle. If they want investment and demand for those higher value products, that perception has to change.
It's almost like bamboo needs a whole rebranding, right? But beyond that perception issue, what are some of the actual roadblocks they'd face?
Land ownership, that's a big one. Making sure it's clear who owns what and how the land can be used. See, a lot of bamboo in Southeast Asia, it grows on communal land. So you might have multiple claims, or the rules about harvesting and selling it might not be clear. That scares away big investors, and it makes sustainable harvesting a real challenge.
So many factors to balance. It really makes you think. But one thing your research really emphasized was bamboo's potential in, fighting climate change.
It's really interesting how bamboo can contribute to that. And it's not just one thing, it's kind of like multifaceted. It's like a climate change superhero in a way.
Okay, I'm listening. Break it down for me. What makes bamboo so good at tackling this global challenge?
First off, it's amazing at carbon sequestration, way better than most trees. We're talking of absorbing carbon dioxide from the air and locking it away. To give you an idea, a hectare of trees, you're looking at maybe 4 tons of carbon absorbed per year. Bamboo. Studies are showing up to 12 on that same hectare. It's incredible.
Wow, that's a huge difference. You can really see the impact it could have, right? Especially now with everyone trying to reduce carbon in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
But it's got to be more than just absorbing carbon, right?
Absolutely. Remember how we were talking about how fast it grows and how renewable it is? That quick cycle means you can harvest it, use it for different things, and it bounces back. Timber takes decades to mature. This doesn't.
So you're using it for products, for buildings, even for energy.
Yeah.
But because of how it grows, the environmental impact is way less than using traditional materials.
Exactly. So you're choosing bamboo and you're using less steel, less concrete, even less fossil fuel. It just makes sense. It's a more sustainable way of doing things.
It's like a chain reaction of good stuff. Every bamboo product, every building, it all adds up to a lower carbon future. But like with anything, if you start using something a lot, there could be some downsides. What about bamboo? What are the environmental things we need to watch out for?
The way it's grown and harvested, that's got to be responsible. Bamboo's naturally sustainable, we know that. But if you've got these huge plantations with just one type of bamboo, that's monoculture, and that can be a problem for biodiversity.
Yeah, like they say, too much of a good thing.
Exactly. We should be encouraging a mix of species, integrating bamboo into existing forests, not just clearing land for bamboo alone,
And
but of course harvesting it in a way that doesn't damage anything so it can keep growing back.
working with nature, not against it, right? That seems to be the key to all of this.
It really is. Bamboo's got so much potential, but we have to remember that it's part of a delicate system. And that goes for how it's transported and processed, too. Even though it's renewable, if we're using tons of energy to move it around and process it, that kind of cancels out the benefits you see.
Right, so it's the whole process, the whole life cycle of the bamboo that has to be sustainable, not just the plant itself.
100%. And that's where the really exciting stuff is happening with all the new research. Scientists are developing these new types of bamboo that grow even faster, and they're even better at carbon sequestration. They're finding new ways to make it into bioplastics, biofuels, things like that. And they're doing it all while trying to use less energy and create less waste.
So we're not just using bamboo as it is, we're pushing the boundaries of what we can do with it.
That's what's so exciting. Is like we're just the beginning of the story, and there's so much potential for innovation and change.
I think that's a great place to wrap up. This deep dive into bamboo has been, well, honestly, pretty amazing. We talked about renewable energy, economic change, even its role in the fight against climate change.
Yeah.
Who knew one plant could be so incredible? It's a source of innovation and maybe even, hope for the future.
Look, what's fascinating to me is how bamboo makes us rethink our whole relationship with nature. It's like it's showing us that the answers are already there if we just pay attention.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something new and maybe even see bamboo a little differently now.